of army units, and then hell, you can throw your army away, whatever, right? So that's why KiToO there backed off. Macro just a little more, got on 3 base, and really set himself up very nicely to defend that follow-up Immortal Sentry from Zeal. The surround was absolutely crucial, and the creep spread also was fantastic as far as being able to keep your eye on your side of the map. So we have to move into game number 2 now, and it's going to be Cactus Valley LE, another 4-player map. So we had 3 2-player maps in the first series. Now it's going to be a nice big one again for game number 2. So spawning on the very bottom right-hand side of this map, it's going to be the pink Protoss down 1-0 to his teammate. Can he tie it up here and give us a non-shutout series for once? Playing for Brawl Esports, guys, it is Zeal. And once again, in the cross position on a 4-player map, it's going to be the Blue Zerg upper left, and he is enjoying a lead for now. Can he win this one and then start BMing as he promised? Well, it wasn't a promise, it was more like a suggestion. But yes, for Brawl Esports as well, this is KiToO. Last game we saw 15 hatch out of him, feeling like it was a good idea to play economically on a nice large map. This time around he opens up with pull first. So, you know, there's always some debate about whether or not going pull first is the smarter or safer or more economical thing to do, because even if you think, okay, isn't going base first the most economical thing to do? But then when you go for pull first, you can get queens faster. You get queens faster, you get drones faster, right? So sometimes I just don't even want to think about which leads to more minerals mined. It's just really to me, it's just a preference kind of thing. And, you know, it gives you different options. I think the key thing is options. You go pull first, you can go with earlier queens, or you can do 6 slings like we're seeing here. And this is kind of similar to what we saw from PiLiPiLi, in that his initial lings did a whole lot of damage. Not by killing things, but keeping the Protoss from doing things. Things like mining. So right now, though, the difference between this game and the game that, you know, where we saw PiLiPiLi really bother PiLiPiLi with that, is that this is a 4-player map. And given that this is a 4-player map, KiToO still needs to go and find his opponent. Actually, he's already done that. He sent an Overlord to the right, sees nothing. He sent a unit down to the bottom left. May have been a drone. Most likely was, given that, you know, squiggly kind of reveal path that we see in the Fog of War. So he's heading right down to the cross position. And Zeal sent 2 probes over, by the way. The second of which is sure to die very soon. And I think Zeal may have wanted to cannon rush, actually. He opened up Forge, tried to use that first, well, he was scouting with the first probe, hoping that maybe he could, you know, back out at some point, hide it, cannon behind the mineral line of the natural. But instead, he sees that kind of thwarted, and he's just going to make cannons at home instead to make sure lings don't get in. So, at the very least, we can say for KiToO that those lings, you know, prevented a potential cannon rush, forced up some cannons, and slowed down the tech of his opponent. In that sense, I'd say it was worth it. Funny thing about this game is it's not always about the damage you do. It's really about the indirect damage you do. You know, even late, if even we're talking further into the game, so not necessarily like really early, like cheese timing stuff. Like even when we're talking about, you know, forcing Zerg to make units instead of drones, like using that larva and resources on something that doesn't develop their economy early game, or for Protoss, forcing Protoss to spend their gas on making stalkers instead of developing their tech. Like these are all things where you can indirectly do damage to a player, even if you're not like physically killing stuff. And we see again 6 slings from the Zerg can very much do that. But right now, what's happening here? We got a Stargate coming out for Zeal. So it's gonna be a Stargate for him. He's getting research as well for Warp Gate, but not sinking his chrono into that. He's saving it up for just more probes. KiToO, just droning. It's kind of the time for him to do that. I mean, went with the 6 slings, that was his form of aggression. Now it's just sit back, macro up. Still no third, though. He's still on 2 bases at 630. And, you know, in the past, Zerg players would love to take that 420 hatch. That was really the rage, all the rage back then. But in a lot of these PVZs I've been watching lately, and you know, I get a good, pretty good representation of that because I do watch a lot of, you know, Grandmaster level players, pro players, Korean players. Very few actually go for that super early 420 hatch now. That's kind of just, that's not a popular thing to do. I think players, Zerg players, are very wary of those Protoss timings with gateways and just feel like that third hatch is just, it's too easy to lose. And we see KiToO perhaps feeling that way here. He is taking his third now, but you know, it's already 740, not quite done. Creep spread starting to reach the base, though. And here's the Oracle. So Zeal's going to send it on in here, and KiToO should see it now. If he hadn't scouted already, he's going to have that Spore ready, though. Sends the Oracle away. 2 kills, 2 quick ones on the drones, but not much more. As third's about to pop. So, you know, Zeal doesn't do too much damage with that Oracle, but he does force out Spores. So again, talk about that indirect damage, right? As well as keeping it alive does kind of, you know, put into that the back of the mind of the Zerg, like, hey, you can't forget about this. I still have it. So if you let up, if you get cocky, I can come back and haunt you with this thing. So that's something that KiToO has to think about. But in the meantime, we're going to see some transitioning here. Zeal adding on a Void Ray. So it does appear he wants to commit to air, it looks like. Although he's adding a lot of gateway units as well. In the meantime, for KiToO, it's business as usual. Droning. Lots and lots of droning. But now we're starting to see some tech coming out from him. So the lair finished up. Now he's got his Hydralisk Den on the way. And double evolution chamber. So we're going to have +1 missile attacks. Carapace as well, perhaps, to come later when he has the resources. Because then if he's going to commit to Hydra, he's going to want to be getting those Hydralisk Den upgrades too, as I would imagine. And, you know, this is something that might remind us of that game 2 between PiLiPiLi and Bly. Hydra Link. So I don't see roaches, don't see a Spire yet. May come down the line, but, ooh, we see an Infestation Pit. That actually could be interesting. We'll see what he does with this. But could be a hive he wants to get with that. I don't think infestors. I don't really see that being the case. But you know, if he wants to go for a really quick Viper or something. But the thing is, Vipers only work. Oh, he is going to go infestor. Yeah, with the upgrade of pathogen glands, that's as clear as day. Viper didn't necessarily make much sense to me, even though I said it, because really, they work on ground units, you know, if you do Blinding Cloud, but as far as the air, it doesn't do anything, really. The Void Rays aren't blinded at all by it. So I guess we're going to see Infestors. So Hydra, Infestor, and Ling. As far as I can think of that army, very, very potent offensively. A lot of DPS involved. Splash damage as well. But not so much defensively. I mean, we're seeing light units all across the board. Is that something Zeal can exploit? He's getting his +2 attack right now. That's a great way in progressing towards that possibility. Warping in more Stalkers right now. He's got Blink finishing up here. So he's going to go with a nice Blink Sentry composition. Has 1 Void Ray, which is interesting. Doesn't make any further ones. Perhaps the production of the Void Ray was him being afraid of you know, KiToO attacking or something, so he needed an extra unit to help out, but he doesn't appear to be committing to Sky Toss after all. And it's going to be Blink Sentry. That's kind of it. +2 is now done. That's the time for Pink to make his move now. And again, KiToO, great creep spread, just really making it difficult. Look, Zeal's going to try to put a pylon down here. It's going to be a big fat buzzer that he's probably hearing right now. And he's on a Warp Prism this time. So let's see how this attack goes. Force Fields keep those Hydras at bay. And yeah, Zeal's like, whoa, this is crazy. I'm out. And so he's out. And KiToO's like, he's got to be happy about how that turned out. He didn't kill off a lot of units, but the Protoss sending the Protoss running away with tail between his legs. Looks like KiToO now is going to be the one to put on the offensive, and that probe sitting there so lonely. And here we go. We're going to see KiToO try to make his move on this third base here. Zeal just within arm's reach, not going to suffer really much damage there. But he's supply blocked. We see those proxy pylons all cleaned up on the map. Look at this, man. 1359. The creep spread is real, man. Halfway through the map. And usually on most maps, that's kind of standard, right? From a high-level player, getting your creep to the halfway point at 14 minutes is kind of like the way it should be. But this is Cactus Valley. This is not Coda, nice small map. This is not Echo. This is like the biggest map in the map pool right now. To get your creep spread out here, that's pretty solid stuff. Right now, KiToO trying to defend this Zealot drop here in the main base. Plenty of Lings arrive back in time. That's the beauty of creep spread. It's not just about making your opponent having forcing your opponent to have trouble with proxy pyloning. That's even a word. It's having map vision. I mean, everything. I mean, KiToO can see all this stuff on the top left right now. So if the Protoss tries to sneak in stuff, very difficult. Even a Warp Prism flying by, if the creep just is on the outskirts of the vision of that Warp Prism, then KiToO's gonna have his units running back home. So tricky situation for Toss, but Zeal, not to take anything away from him, man. He's warping his fourth base. He's on 70 workers. He's got +3, so if he can get some good engagements here, it can go well for him because his units are powerful. They really, really are. These Hydras, as strong as they are offensively, they can get mowed down pretty quick, especially with the Colossus helping out. Let's see if that can happen. Zeal right now trying to defend this fourth base. Awkward spot, though, as he has to fight with this Nexus in the way. Decides to cancel it, not feeling confident in his ability to defend it. And KiToO not going to engage, of course, because of the force fields. But as far as he's thinking, hey, I forced a cancellation on your base, so that's got to be pretty decent, right? So he backs off and surrounds these Zealots with the drones, and it's going to lead to some lost workers here. So we're talking about 7 workers killed in total by these harassments from Zeal. It's a modest amount, but it's not really too big of a deal. But got to hand it to the Protoss, trying to keep up the aggression and pressure. And now we're going to see Storm being thrown down. So since then, since I was yapping so much about that creep spread, Zeal's kind of added on some additional tech beyond Stalkers, right? We're looking at some Colossus here, 3 of them. And then now he's really trying to get in that splash damage. Because once the Hydras get up to a high amount, the blink of the Stalkers may not quite be enough. The extra +3 may not quite be enough because they'll just die too quickly. So time to add a little bit of that AoE. Storm going to be very crucial here. Hydras are weak against that sort of thing. They're light units. Really, really light units. And we still have yet to really see anything beefy come out of KiToO. But he's going for this kind of mobile army where the micro is very key, positioning is key, and the Vipers, of course, if they can land the right blinding clouds on this very large, just high-range army from Protoss. Let's see. Ooh, Vipers almost went in there. Not quite. I think KiToO was worried about the blink under by the Stalkers. Accidentally sniping those Vipers would have been really bad. Storm goes down. First one not quite good, but the second one lands right square on those Hydras. We're going to see Yoinks instead of Blinding Clouds. Does lead to the Colossus dying off, but it does look like Zeal's going to stand strong here. Finish off the Zerg units on the bottom. So we're at that familiar point now where, Zerg trades their army away. Okay, now it's time to remax. So KiToO here is going to try to start working on that. Hopefully for him, he had a good enough injects throughout the last few minutes. And I would say it's good enough for him to get to a remax point. So he's going to be back to max here very shortly. His army is going to consist of Roach this time around. So we haven't seen Roach yet until now. And this is a fairly late addition for KiToO because really his Roach speed is only 40% done. But you know, against Protoss late game, you're going to need some beef. The Hydras are just too soft. The Infestors, also very soft units. Yeah, they get in, you know, the fungals and whatnot, but, you know, when your opponent has decent upgrades, it's not necessarily that big of a deal. Plus shields, too. So we see, basically, KiToO sort of abandoning that thought on the Infestors. Queen here being chased down by Zealots will be taken out. This 5th base here from KiToO under a little bit of trouble, as KiToO is going to have to try to bring some units over here to save it. Don't want to lose it if you don't have to, even if it is just 3 Zealots. We're also having Zealots kind of move into this 3rd base as the Vipers helplessly watch. As scary as Vipers may look, they're actually they're friendly. They're harmless to enemy units. They have no attack, but they do make it hard to see. So we are going to see Zeal now storm these units as they roll in. The Roaches, though, a lot more resilient, but with +2 carapace as well. Are they resilient enough, though? Zeal blinks forward with the Stalkers, feeling confident here. Not a lot of blue here from KiToO, as Zeal is wiping out a lot of these units. And this may be Zeal getting a much-needed advantage here, because most of this game he's kind of been on the ropes. His harassment's not quite working out. Now, though, he's got this giant death ball, and it is storming towards the heart of the Zerg base, as KiToO has to wait on these units to come out. One thing that yeah, he's not even going to wait for that. GG. And Zeal getting to that late game composition, stomping right through the Zerg. And we see the series tied up. So I think it's interesting that KiToO went for the Infestors. I don't know. You don't see that too often against Toss, because the Fungals just, they don't really do as much damage against them. The combination of shields and, you know, the armor upgrades when they're researched, it's just doesn't really do too much. So I'm not too big of a supporter of that. But I guess you want to add perhaps a little more DPS to the Hydraling, but, you know, Hydraling, it's already a lot. Added on the Roaches late, but I don't know, just couldn't quite make it happen. I mean,